Hey everybody, it's Marissa here, and it's Thursday, so it's time for another one of our Thursday thoughts, and I'm coming to you from outside my home here in Durango, Colorado. I'm gonna do two different things. One, I'm not going to be doing one of these every single Thursday because I'm working on my own sort of perfectionism around it. I'll try to get things out most Thursdays, but I think it's probably good for me to just kind of roll with it. So last week I took a break, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that today. So I'm going to call this Happy Athlete Tip number two, and I have to kind of wrap it into my own story. So I'm going to tell you what I was doing last week and why this is coming up. Because really I think I fell into the well, and it does happen, of being a not very happy athlete. And now that I've had about a week to kind of process it, I've been able to identify some key things that were going on for me that kept me a little bit distanced from my own happiness. So yeah, so last week I set out on an adventure with some of my girlfriends, and for those of you that are not familiar with this area here in Colorado, we live in a very, very beautiful mountainous area. The San Juan Mountains are around us. And every July there is this race, and I call it a race because to me it's like, wow, it's probably just more of an event, called the Hard Rock 100. And that is, if you haven't guessed, it is 100 miles up in the mountains with 33,000 feet of vertical elevation gain. And yes, people do this, really badass athletes do this in all at once. So they don't take breaks, or they take very short breaks, but they don't sleep. You know, it's a big deal. Friends of mine and I, we set out to do the course over 4 days. So you know, that's just 25 miles a day, right? I'm being a little bit sarcastic, because even that, I find myself cringing when I say only 25 miles a day, because that's huge. Anyhow, we set out last week, and even kind of coming into the 4-day trip, there were some things that really weren't kind of working out into our favor, especially into my favor. I kind of banged my foot up, so I was starting the event with a little bit of a, I don't want to call it an injury, but a little bit of like a little bit of an injury. And we had some interesting group dynamics, just with maybe different, you know, we're all friends, but all of us sort of had different ideas of what we were going to be doing and sort of outcomes, which, hey, that comes with just being different people. And we had weather issues. We get thunderstorms in the summer about 2 p.m. every afternoon, and this course is way above tree line, most of it. And so the first 2 days, I felt like we sort of pushed it pretty hard, and in fact that second day I actually shortened my own course just because of my foot was hurting. And I found myself, you know, and I can't speak for the other girls, but I found myself getting kind of down and bummed out, even though we were running in this beautiful terrain. I mean, spectacular, running through fields of wildflowers, summiting these passes at 13,000 feet with my friends. And, you know, really, when I take a step back, I feel almost silly saying that I wasn't having a good time. But I found myself stressed. I found myself really getting attached to the miles, the numbers, the route for the next day, what the weather was going to be doing the next day, kind of everything that was taking me out of the present. And just due to a course of some different events, we ended up really having to shorten the overall 100 miles. And I think at the end of 4 days, I think I ended up doing about 55. And I'm not going to say only 55, because 55 is huge. So that's just what it was. But an interesting thing happened, because the last 2 days, we ended up, just due to, again, some circumstances, needing to shorten the course. We ended up slowing things down. We ended up taking the mileage down. And it was actually in those 2 days when I started to have a really, really great time. Reacquaint myself with sort of happy and the mountains and my environment. And again, a week later, kind of thinking back to it, I think what was going on for me is that I had gotten really attached to a number. I had gotten really attached to a certain outcome. I became more attached to, as we say, the destination versus the journey, big time. So it was just a really good reminder to come back to kind of, I'm piggybacking on what I was talking about in the first Happy Athlete tip, of enjoying the ride or enjoying the process. I did read a really great article by Eleanor Fish last week, and she talks about the very thing, about enjoying the process. Sometimes I think that's a little bit theoretical, and I like to bring it back to more nuts and bolts. But I think, my Happy Athlete tip number 2 is to, when you find yourself maybe not enjoying the activity or feeling stressed about the activity that you love, to examine it. Take some time, look back, and I think a lot of times we find that we've attached ourselves to the goal, the outcome, the end game, and usually that's pretty fleeting. So I wanted to just kind of share this little story. Oh, and I wanted to show you the profile just so you can get a grip for what we were doing. Here we go. Here's the profile. Got it bend down. So here we go. So see that? Whoa, that's the Hard Rock 100. I actually found this on the trail. I think somebody had dropped it. But you can see it's one climb after another climb after another climb. That's the 100 miles. So I don't know why I wanted to show you that, but I did. Probably more for those of you that don't live in this area. But anyways, Happy Athlete tip number 2 is enjoy the process. Reconnect with the process. Slow it down. Take a look. Stare at the mountains. Stop. Take a breath. And reconnect to why you're doing what you're doing. Okay, orthorexia number 3 is coming next week. Bye.